Well, just to say that the government must recognize its international and domestic obligations. And we don't even have to come here to say that. We don't have to come here to have this conversation. Government should, by its own laws, fulfill its obligations. But at the same time, to call on civil society and all citizens to be vigilant, to ensure that, there is respect for human rights, there is, adherence to the rule of law, so that, we prevent torture and all, acts and, malpractices that dehumanize human beings or subject them to, inhuman treatment. But you will realize that this act requires a lot of things to be established, structures, processes to be established. A lot of them are not in place. I mean, our organization, Edward Francis Small Center for Rights and Justice, we had already written to the Office of the President, Office of the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, the NHRC and the police and other relevant institutions who have a role to play in implementing the Torture Act. But also there are some things that are not in our Torture Act that are in the UN Convention, and a very important mechanism is what is called the National Prevention Mechanism, that is by international law, that is by the Torture Act. Every state is supposed to establish a structure, an institution responsible for monitoring, torture. So it will be visiting detention centers, it will be, looking at cases, it will be, looking at witness protection, it will be looking at reporting torture and so many things. So that is a mechanism that the international law makes it a requirement for states that have ratified the convention to establish. Unfortunately, in our case, that NPM, the National Prevention Mechanism, is not even mentioned in the Torture Act. But also, we don't have that. But thank God we have the National Human Rights Commission. And in many places, the National Human Rights Commission fulfills that role of the NPM. All right. And as we can see, the National Human Rights Commission has also raised this issue, the need to establish the NPM. And so this meeting here is to discuss all of these things, and hopefully, given the audience, there are people from the government, from the parliament, from the security, from the National Human Rights Commission itself, and also from civil society. Hopefully an agreement, a resolution will come as an outcome to say this body needs to be created. And in our case, we don't even need to create a new body altogether. It is to mandate the National Human Rights Commission to also be the NPM for the Gambia in terms of prevention of torture. So this is why the meeting is here. It's a very important meeting.
Very important indeed. Yeah. Mr. Jobarteh, what is your expectation after this conference and all this written to the government? What are you expecting?
Well, our expectation is that the critical issues will be raised, and the audience, the participants would appreciate those critical issues, and therefore action takes place from there. So I talked about the NPM, for example. Our detention centers, already the National Human Rights Commission and even the Parliamentary Human Rights Committee do visit detention centers. But we don't only need to visit detention centers. Detention centers, police cells, prisons, and so on have to be in a certain quality of status. All right, because there are human beings there, and those human beings have rights and dignity. So a police cell should meet human rights standards. The prison should meet human rights standards, which unfortunately is not the case in the Gambia. So my expectation is these issues will be raised so that all of these things are addressed. That is, detention centers, the NPM are all established, but also looking at instances, because currently torture still takes place in the Gambia. Torture can be physical or mental. And those cases have come in terms of actions of police and so on. So all of this, I hope, will lead to that political will to address this issue of torture, to not only prohibit it but to prevent it from happening, and to ensure by that prevention also that centers, detention centers are such that no possibility of torture, psychological or physical, would happen. So that's our expectation.